I booked like 25 last week and I had 23 show. And I was pissed at the 2. You know that. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And the same thing with the agents. I want to create an environment that I was given. I want to pass that down to them so they want to do the same.
Thank you for joining us on our Family First Life Tri-State Serve the People podcast. We appreciate you tuning in, spending your time to develop and grow with us. Follow us, please, on all our social media platforms at Family First Life Tri-State or FFL Tri-State. We love you. Keep listening, and I hope this information is serving you across the country. All right, everybody, thank you for jumping on with us for our Tri-State Trends podcast. If you don't think we're trending today, you are in for a rude awakening. We have the one and only Vice President of FFL Believe, my girl, elite producer, and character extraordinaire, Mindy Tibbs. What's up, Mindy?
Mark me with the mug. We are here today. So much fun anytime I'm here.
Oh, man. We laughed so hard before we could even start this interview.
I could never dial out of this office.
My
Never.
cheeks are hurting. But I'm glad you're here.
Me too.
And I want to get into some of the things that you got going on. Mm-hmm. We try to use the Trends podcast to kind of hit the hottest, whitest part of your business. And your business is hot. You know, you guys are coming off of a record-breaking month in September. Over 200 families protected, probably closer to 250. Mm-hmm. And, you know, whenever that's happening, this level is probably one of my favorite levels. This VP to SVP, EVP, right?
It's getting fun.
Yeah, the 150 families to about 400 families, you're learning a ton. So what are some lessons that you're taking right now? Because we didn't have you in here not that long ago. I think it was probably April.
I was literally just thinking that. I think the last time we were here, our team was just hitting logo.
Yeah.
And it was, I don't know, what, March, April,
okay.
Something like that.
Yeah, that's right. You're here with Mr. Star.
Yes, Mr. Star.
And now you've developed more. You have more people that you're leading. You have more responsibility that you've seen. You've made more changes. Mm-hmm. I'm going to zip. And I want to listen to what's happening right now.
My favorite. Honestly, I think more than just adding more people, which of course we'd added more agents, I think agents on our team have just developed so much. So since we were last in here, their production, their in-homes, their lead spend has upped. Everything about them has changed. And I'm starting to finally see them, you know, have agents with them. And that in turn is making them step it up as well. And of course, I'm just trying to do it all by developing myself too, which as crazy as it sounds, I've learned more about like my in-home and changing things with that in the last 6 months that I have in the 2.5 years with FFL. And so passing that down to the agents and then them passing that down to their agents, it's just been really cool to see this unexpected development between our team all together. You know, David's about to hit Hall of Fame. We have people that are starting to get the telesales rhythm and starting to do really well virtually and recruiting their family when they, you know, were kind of shy about the business and seeing people post. It's just really cool. But I think it all starts at yourself, you know, making sure that you're not just all talk. You know, you're actually game. You're in the game with them. You're in the trenches with them. You're not just telling them to go to the trenches. You're there on live dials. You're there on live dial. Or you're on live dials. You're there dialing with them as well. And it's cool. Like more than just saying them get agents, they've developed themselves. And it's been really special to see.
Great time in the business when you're when you're seeing those light bulb moments and seeing those aha moments and seeing people, you know, break out of their skin into a new set of skin, which if they're doing that, nobody's doing that faster than you.
Yeah.
Fair enough?
Fair enough, yeah.
So when you say in the last 6 months, you're in-home, like you've learned more about your in-home in the last 6 months than your whole 2.5 years, break that down a little further. Why do you say that?
So I think the last time I was here, I don't know, I've just, we've talked, I'm obsessed with the psychology in the home and how the clients work and what phraseology will work in what way and what tie downs will make them show up to appointments more, to where I have 0 no-shows instead of, 2 no-shows.
Do you have 0 right now?
I mean, I booked like 25 last week and I had 23 show. And I was pissed at the 2. You know that. So, and I've already rescheduled it. I text them. Literally.
Wow.
But just kind of experimenting with that. And now hearing the agents call me, and they'll say, hey, I tried this, for telesales, for my Zoom. I've been trying this tie down. And this has really started to work. And so seeing them kind of dive in the psychology, it's crazy. Like when you really try to better yourself, what a ripple effect that is. You probably see that even just here in the office. When you're working on yourself, it seems like whether it's in your marriage or your office or your coworkers or people on your team, like when you better yourself, I don't know if it's your mindset that's changing, but naturally you feel like people around you are starting to try to do the same.
Got it.
And it starts with you. So if you're complacent and you're not trying to better every aspect, I don't think anyone's ever arrived in this business, whether it's in your in-home dialing your business at Tri-State, you can always develop and do better. And so my better has been, okay, how can I write more business? How can I beat the boys? Like, even though they're full time, how can I beat them and just kind of do better on my in-home? And so I've just kind of dived into the psychology and taken some tips from my agents too. And when they're calling me now and giving me pieces of advice, that is so cool to see them delving into that too. It's starting to get fun.
That's awesome. Well, this is a good time. When I say that, as you said, it's starting to get fun. The amount of people coming in your business from a recruitment standpoint, and then your development track is set. In other words, you've put down tracks for your next level of leadership. Your next level of leadership is putting down tracks for the next level of leadership. So you get to analyze a little bit while continuing to have your hands in on the recipe, but you're creating your own little cooks, and they're getting to do their thing too in the kitchen. And when that's set up like that, it is very fun because you've done your part early where you were doing everything, and now you have people raising their hands saying, I want to help.
Yeah.
I want to chip in.
Which is nice.
Which is very nice. But it's also the only way to get big.
Yeah.
Right? It's a volunteer army, so you need volunteers that are willing to step up and help lift the entire deal with you, right? So you're experiencing that. Now, when you watch their development and some of the things that they're learning as leaders, what are some things that you would say that would be helpful to our listeners in watching your leaders or watching your next level of leadership can grow into leadership?
So as self-centered as it sounds, they're watching you. And my goal is to eliminate all excuses for the people I work with because they don't have an excuse to not succeed. And when you teach them that, then they step that up and they put the same wave out there for their agents too. And I almost feel like too, you have to be careful as well because negative things can pass on as well. But I can't talk about this without saying like what you say the tracks are laid down. Those were laid down for me.
Right.
And that's what I love. I mean, you're close to the boys. That's what I'll forever call them. I don't care how much of men they are. They'll forever be the boys. But I mean, they're incredible. But that was laid down by you as well, which you had tracks laid down for you, essentially. So that's what I love about our company, man, is the tracks are there. Bro, just take the freaking train and drive on them. And so same for my agents. I didn't even have to be inventive. I had to take what I was very blessed and given and work hard and eliminate all excuses. And so same for them. You have to be careful because I think they say, I don't know who they is, but they say it. They say, whatever your production is, people will often do half.
Right.
And so I have to be careful that they, whoever you are, thank you. I have to be careful at the top because it's negative. And it's funny. I don't know how you were in the beginning stages, but when you're sucking on the field, what is your team typically doing? It is often a lower month from what I have seen.
Wow.
And it's wild how much positive spreads and negative spreads. But I was talking to somebody recently and they said, Mindy, my team is just not producing. I had one good month and they didn't. And it's like, okay, bro, but like, what about your last 6 months? Have you been showing up? Have you been on live dials? Have you been leading from the front? And they're like, I'm leading from the front because they killed it last month or the month before. But continuing to be consistent and be positive energy, reaching out to them, sending them a gift card for a cup of coffee, being personal, caring. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
No
and
doubt.
the same thing with the agents. I want to create an environment that I was given, that Gabe and Joe and Caleb have given us. I want to pass that down to them so they want to do the same. We have a really good positive energy within our group with Matt and Mike and the boys. And I just want to do the best that I can to eliminate all excuses and to continue down that track that's been given to me as best I possibly can. I don't want to reinvent and go off on another track.
No.
It's proven. It's there. It works. Plugging in myself and plugging in my agents and anybody that I work with, encouraging them to do the same.
No doubt. That's amazing. But you said one word that I really want to hit on. And I want to know how you live this out. The word consistency. Because consistency is the hot button. You know what I mean? Like, anyone can have a good month. You know,
Anybody.
Anyone can have a couple good months. You know, anyone can have a great week. Talk to us about how you've created consistency in your life and consistency in your business to model it, and then speak to not just you modeling it, but why consistency is the deal for anybody that's looking to get into our business.
Man, so that was the number one thing that I struggled with. I mean, I was scared when I saw my phone ringing with Gabe because I knew I wasn't working and he knew I wasn't working. It was not a secret. And that was the biggest thing I struggled with. And he always told me, Mindy, you're a top producer. You're just not consistent. And then I'd call him crying because I have 6K, or then I would call him crying about chargebacks and those sorts of things. And he's like, well, where you been the last 2 weeks, brother? Like, where you been? And I'm like, you know where I've been. Like, and so I struggled with consistency for so long. And I know I say it all the time, but when I had my son, I knew my time was limited. And so I had nothing but to be consistent. And so showing up, there's so much power in showing up week after week. You grow a rhythm and an OCD aspect to things. Like, I cannot start the phones at 8:01. Kills me. But that's a good habit to have.
Yeah.
And I think consistency breeds callous, I would say, because in time you're going to see, okay, yes, the phones sucked this week, but I'm going to help families.
Right.
Because I remember this time where I was struggling 2 months ago and I did well. And so when you show up consistently at the same time, same day, you're going to start callousing, I would say, your emotions. You take the emotions out of things because it becomes routine and you start to see the success pattern as well. So for people who are coming in and they do well one week and then they stop the next week because they did well the week before, you're hurting yourself because now you're going to come in and your mindset is completely jacked up. I know you understand. You hit the phones many times. Your mindset's totally jacked up. But when you show up on Monday, because Monday's the day you show up, no matter how good you did the weekend prior, you start at 0 that day. And that's how I always try to tell agents, look at your production at 0. Showing up is what the magic is ultimately going to be. There's so much power in consistency. It calluses your emotions. You start to see the positive patterns over time. And it kind of takes more so the emotions and the hard mentality out of things. And so I don't think being totally honest, in 2.5 years of being, I really was not consistent until I would say the beginning of this year. And I saw such a difference in production. And same with agents, you know, on our team and within 3LS, you know who the consistent people are because their production always shows it. Rarely do you have consistent people who are helping less than 20 families a month. It's just very rare to have people show up every single dial day with a fresh batch of leads on auto pay, same day, same routine, producing at a low level. It just typically doesn't coincide together. There are patterns of success and consistency. I mean, you can tell me your thoughts. Consistency is typically at the top of the list for every top producer in the company.
Now, you said you struggled with it.
Oh, yeah. So bad.
What did you do to stop struggling with it? Because you said, you know, obviously your son came along, but so? Mm-hmm. For some people, that makes the consistency worse.
True.
Right? So you went the other way. But what actually did you, what did you put in place? Because this is a great class for someone who's struggling with consistency.
Sure.
So what did you put in place for that to become at the top of your mind now, and for you to illustrate and communicate it the way you just did so eloquently, that this is the only way to do this?
So if you want to get consistent, if you want a fire underneath you, I would say one, automated lead spend, because it's difficult to sit there on your couch and eat Lay's when you saw that bill pop up. And so you're going to get out there and you're going to produce. If you have kids, I would say enrolling them in a daycare or hiring a caregiver because they're going to get their paycheck. And so I have my son's school on auto pay every week, and I'm paying for that bill whether he goes in or not.
Got it.
So for if you have kids, ensuring that they have childcare consistently, and if you don't, or even if you do, ensuring that you have an automated lead spend. I think that's the fast track to putting a fire underneath you, is what I would say. That's
really good. Very simple, but that's what worked for you.
That's what worked for me.
Wow.
Paying a child care bill consistently and upping my automated lead spend. I'm spending now more in leads than I have, and production's been better than it has. It's not a coincidence.
I love the answer because it's very simple. There wasn't anything complicated about what you said. But you went from consistency being an incredible deficiency to the point where you would not want to answer your phone from Gabe.
It was so bad. It was really bad. Yeah.
To 2 moves. Because you wanted, number one, you had the desire to want to get better.
Yeah.
Because you would have made the moves.
I was surrounded by better people too, which is important.
What do you mean by that?
Every person around me was a big producer.
Yeah, but they were there before that. Yes or no?
I plugged into them.
Okay, got it.
I should say. I more so was communicating with them. I was on trainings consistently, which I wasn't. I was off because I didn't need that, you know. But when I was on trainings, I was plugged in. I answered their calls. That was just part of the puzzle piece. It wasn't the one fire, but it was in addition to the other 2, answering the call when Gabe was calling, or, you know, when Matt was calling, you know, answering that. What's up? I haven't been working. Just be honest, you know. But, yeah.
But providing structure for your child, which puts that worry or that anxiety or that fear or that concern, probably the best way to say it, it puts it, douses the flame on that, and then upping your lead spend, which activates your work. And those 2 things right there created a level of consistency.
Yes.
So and as simple as that sounds, that would be that answer solves most people's problems. You know, we were doing a BOM, and I was at the BOM, and I was talking about, you know, I said, how many people in here are parents? And they raised their hand. 8 people raised their hand. And I said, how many of you have dealt with a child with a fever? And of course, everyone raised their hands, and now they're smiling because everyone knows how often kids get fevers. Well, the child with a fever needs to be attended to. Yes? But we all know as parents that the fever always goes down. Always. Like, I have 2 kids. We've probably been through hundreds of fevers in 9 years, and the fever always goes back down. Fair?
Yeah.
Now, the fever's going back down anyway. Mm-hmm. If I spend $100 that week on leads, the fever's going back down. If I spend $2,500 a week that week on leads, the fever's going back down. One ensures that I'm going to go work, and one ensures that I'm going to probably feed my kid Tylenol every 4 hours and be there and give them soup and blah, blah. And I'm not mad at either one. I was making the point that when you invest in leads at a real level, somehow magically the kid gets taken care of and you go run business.
Yeah.
Right?
Keywords, real level. What do you consider to be real level on lead spend for full time?
$2,000 to $2,500.
Yeah, same. I do that. Yeah.
A week.
Yep.
But the flip is ridiculous.
Agreed.
You know what I'm saying? Like the ROI is insane.
Yeah.
For people who invest that kind of money and work that kind of money.
And it makes the time, which oddly enough, it's funny you say that because my son had a fever last week and my lead's still charged, but it's gonna make my time with him in the weekend so much better because you provided for your family. And guess what? They're okay.
Isn't
like,
it weird?
They're okay.
It's weird how that works,
Yes.
dude. But in the same situation, I got a parent saying, "My kid has a fever. My kid has a fever. My kid has a fever. What do I do?" When they already know what to do. Now,
yes.
The brand new kid with a fever is different because that parent's scared to death.
Yes.
They can't even. But we're talking about you've already been through 10, 12 fevers, 14 fevers, 100 fevers. You already know. You know, and I think that we touching it, but I mean, like, the consistency that's needed is the consistency that you take by force. It's not the consistency that you flippantly try to grab. That's not consistency.
You don't even have to look for excuses. It's not the fever. You were looking for an excuse, whether you realize it subconsciously or not.
Wow.
And in this business, excuses find you. You don't have to find them. So when you have consistency, excuses are eliminated because it's non-negotiable. I'm showing up. It doesn't matter if I got in a car wreck, if I hit a deer, if whatever happened, like I'm showing up to my appointments. The excuses will always find you. So consistency, I feel like, is a quick diminisher of those excuses. The fever, the car, the deer. Now that I'm saying it, it's all going to happen next week. It always happens. In 1 week, it will happen.
Here in the booth with my girl, Mindy Tibbs, Tri-State Trending. You're killing it. And your team is growing, and that's exciting.
Thank you.
Where are you at with the year and this fourth quarter coming to a close? What does it look like for FFL Believe?
I mean, I want to consistently be at 250 families, easy, issue paid by the end of the year. And I don't see any reason it honestly can't be 350.
I agree.
Yeah.
Because we have 3 months of growth ahead of us.
True.
And you're telling me numbers you're at now.
2 million. No, I always, at the beginning of the year, erase that, Peter, erase that. Just kidding. I have always said from the beginning of the year, I want 20 agents helping 20 families consistently a month and or 500 families by the end of December, as well as Hall of Fame by the end of December. And I do think we're on track for that. Does that make you happy?
Oh, I'm excited. But I'm only excited because it just made you excited. I'm trying to believe here.
You got it.
FFL Believe.
Hit the paper.
I'm over here FFL Believing. Okay? So,
I am. Trust me. I've got a whiteboard.
Got it. So now, just so I'm clear, you're going to end the year Hall of Fame.
I
yeah?
will. I will hit it. 100%.
Where are you at now?
323.
Woo! Playing no
I did
games.
know those numbers.
Taking no losses. No. Mindy Tibbs, Tri-State Trending, thank you so much for sharing with us. I love you.
Always so much fun. I love you too.
You're the best. Thank you so much for listening. God bless you guys. Take care.